To be honest, folks, Portland Fashion Institute is the gift that never stops giving. Let's talk about breach of contract. So, according to the enrollment agreement that I signed with the school, where I signed my signature to it, and then the director of the school signs their signature to it, making it a legally binding contract. And so, as you can see in the contract, it says you are entitled to an exact copy of this agreement and any disclosure pages you sign. So, I'm entitled to this upon my request. All I have to do is say, hey, I want an enrollment agreement. And Portland Fashion Institute is contractually obligated to give me this contract. This right here is a blank copy that I printed off. So that's why I have it, but it's not a legally binding document. I am just showing you what the legally binding document would look like if I had it, which I don't, because Portland Fashion Institute won't give it to me. So I sent this a couple days ago asking for the document as I'm entitled to. And according to the school rules, the school has a 40-day window, I believe it is, in which they are to process any refunds. And obviously, I've shown that Portland Fashion Institute owes me a lot of refunds. So it's been at the time that I wrote this email, it had been 68 days since I was officially withdrawn from school. So I mentioned that in an email, politely asking for it. Now, the thing is, the school has ghosted me. Like, they don't answer my phone calls, they won't answer my emails, kind of thing like that. They're just like, in order for me to even get my official transcripts, I had to coax the Veterans Voc Rehab to actually do something for me. And Veterans Voc Rehab had to contact the school before the school was willing to even give me my official transcript. So they refused. I was asking for my official transcript. The school has locked me out of all my accounts, so there's no way for me to like request an official transcript via the student portals or anything like that, because the school made it impossible for me to log in because they deleted all my student accounts with all my grades and student information, like, because they're hiding evidence, obviously. I mean, they had that deleted like within days of a few days of this me getting withdrawn from school. But I can't request an official transcript through there. And so the only way for me to request an official transcript was to do it through the only point is contact for the school, Candace Friedman. And I also sent requests to Sharon Blair, because at this point anytime I just see them as one organism at this point. So if I have something to say to one, I just send it to both. So I was requesting my official transcripts, and they refused. They ignored me. They ignored me. They ignored me, and so I had to ask Veterans Voc Rehab to do it. And I mean, even that was kind of a strain, because Veterans Voc Rehab's like, well, just do it. Ask them yourself. And I'm like, I am. They're ignoring me. And they're like, well, just ask them yourself. And I'm like, listen, you need to ask for them, or else they won't give them to me, because they are ghosting me. They won't answer my phone calls. They won't call my voicemails back. And so I have all my student records, all the money I've invested in this. It's like it doesn't exist, because the school has just it pretends that I don't exist anymore. So all the time and effort, all the money that I've put in, um, everything, like it literally means nothing, because the school won't even acknowledge that I exist. So I sent this enrollment agreement because I knew that it would get ignored, and since they've screwed me so much, I'm looking. I'm more than happy to find any other things that they're doing wrong so that I can fully assess the situation to understand what options they are giving me. And so, for as far as, because I don't have a specific course of action, but I'm trying to figure out one. And so I'm trying to find as many ways to find courses of action as possible. And so I needed this enrollment agreement because this is the document that binds our behavior, and they refused to give it to me. And so um, they ignored me. So this is the first time I've ever got snippy or said anything disrespectful um, to them ever. But af- af- through all of this, I've never said a single disrespectful word to anyone. Like, so this was the first disrespectful thing I said. I said, and so after they ignored me again, I said, may I have the mutually signed enrollment agreement? I signed the enrollment agreement and I sent it to you, and it was signed by you making it a legally binding contract. And that's what it says in the enrollment agreement, that it is an act. The enrollment agreement itself says that it is a legal binding contract. So it's not just me saying this, it's what it says in the document, obviously. But so it's in our legally binding contract. It specifically states, upon my request, that the school will provide me this contract that legally bound both Portland Fashion Institute and myself to a set of rules that we both must follow. And I said, do rules not apply to me or something in those tiny brains of yours? So I knew that they would respond to that because they're narcissists. They're stupid. Like, they're so intellectually inferior to me. It's funny because I'm about to crush their lives, and I'm gonna end up being the better for it. Like, one way or another, like, I'm gonna wind up on my feet through this. Like, and so um, I asked him that question because I knew it would provoke the narcissist reaction, and they did exactly what I wanted it to. They denied me my. They flat out not only did they were just ignoring me when I was asking for it before, but now they're flat out denying me it, and again putting them in direct breach of contract. Like, I mean, I I just steer these people through a freaking maze, and they're blindfolded, and like I'm walking them into every single landmine along the way, and they don't even realize it, and they just do it to themselves just because they're so hell-bent on screwing me that I'm allowing them to screw me, and I'm giving them all the opportunities in the world to screw with me that they want. Because you know what, when it comes down what the legal ramifications of all of this, like, people are going to be having a really bad day soon. So again, thanks for listening. Um, this is how they're in breach of contract. I mean, obviously they're in breach of contract in countless ways. I mean, they're breaching every scholastic, like, uh, no that's possible. So um, for all those people that are watching, you know what? I'd love someone's help. I mean, people don't like helping me. People don't like me. Like, I'm really nice, but people just hate me. Like, and the thing is, people think that I try to be better than them or I want to be better than them, but the thing is, that is not the case. I only want to be better than myself. And so my quest to be better than myself, people find threatening. And because people find that threatening, people don't like me. And because people don't like me, they try to destroy me. And this is my life. This has been my entire life. It's always been like this. So, like, I would really like if I could find someone to help me out who doesn't want to destroy me, because I promise you it will be a mistake. And someone who's, like, hey, this is kind of a fucked up situation. This guy doesn't deserve it. This guy has a future. Like, I want to help this guy have a future that they tried to take from him. I'm looking for someone who can help me with that because you know what? I want to be the world's first non-profit fashion designer. Um, I'm a 100% disabled veteran, and I I live comfortably. I'm not rich, but like I have enough. But there's a lot of people in this world that do not have enough right now, especially with this COVID and all this hatred and this violence that it's going on through this country and this world. And so, like, clearly, I am a talented designer. Like, obviously, if I'm an international award-winning painter who's using my paintings to design fashion, obviously I'm automatically in the good category. And it's not me bragging. I'm just speaking factually. Like, and the point I'm trying to make is like, so as a nonprofit fashion designer, like, since I am this talented as a designer, like, people will want to buy my fashion, so I can make so much money doing this. Like, like I'm going to be the next Gucci or Prada or Tommy Hilfiger, like, or whatever those has-beens uh, were before I'm about to come along. But the thing is, I want to, uh, that's, I want to be, I want to be better than a company, but not better than a person. And so I want to be better than the company. And I have the talent, I have the ability, I have the fashion that will draw in the crowds. And the thing is, like, I can make so much money, but I plan on donating 100% of my profits that I make as a fashion designer to create a nonprofit foundation where I create, the idea was to create a vocational rehabilitation. Like, I was given that opportunity when I, as a disabled veteran, obviously I don't have that opportunity anymore, uh, because people took my ability to uh, afford to go to school away, um, because they got my benefit, education benefit stripped from me. Like, I had the GI Bill, but because of my head injury, it took I just wasted away my education because I couldn't. My head injury was very hard for me to come to grips with, in realizing what my limitations were. Like, I wanted to be a a medical doctor and get a PhD in research science because I wanted to cure diseases, because I hate to see people suffer. And I spent my entire life volunteering in a hospital since the age of 10, because my mom was an emergency room nurse and my stepdad was an emergency room doctor. And so I would come into work with them. And when I was 16, I was officially old enough to be part of the high school volunteer program at Meridian Park Hospital. And so at that point, I no longer was connected to my mom at the hip, and I could come to my mom's work and work in the emergency department whenever I wanted. And so when I wasn't in school, I was volunteering 40 plus hours a week, because, my family had enough money that I did not need a job to have spending money. And so instead, I volunteered at the hospital because I wanted to be a better doctor. So I literally dedicated my life to becoming a doctor since I was a child. Excuse me. So, um, it was very difficult to coming to grips with that, because before I joined the Marine Corps, I scored high enough on the military intelligence test to do any job in the Marine Corps. And the thing was, I didn't even try on the test, because when I took the test, I was forced to take the test. My entire grade had to take the test. There's like 400 of us that got forced to take the test. And when I say forced, like, the first time the test was scheduled, I skipped the ASVAB because I had no desire to join the Marine Corps. And then I got in trouble for that. And they told me if I didn't take the ASVAB, that they would suspend me from school. So that was how reluctant I was to take the military intelligence exam. I don't like being forced to do anything. And so when I actually did take it, like, I thought it was easy. Um, but I did, and so I breezed through it, and then I got to the math section, and I did like half the math section on the ASVAB, and then I just started randomly filling out bubbles, and I turned it in, and I still scored high enough to do any job in the Marine Corps. Um, and so when I actually decided to join the Marine Corps, I um, I went to the recruiter's office, and he's like, "Have you taken the ASVAB?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't remember what score I got because I didn't care." And he's like, "Well, I will look for your score, but how about you take a practice ASVAB now to see how you score? And so I'm like, okay. And so I breezed through that and I take the practice ASVAB when I actually wanted to take the test. And I joined on the dime. Like I got in a fight with my mom and I'm like, I'm moving out of the house. She's like, you got no place to go. And I'm like, fuck you, I'm joining the Marine Corps. And that's the moment I decided to join the Marine Corps. And then I was in the recruiter's office later on that night. So I hadn't prepared for the ASVAB or anything like that. And so I just took this ASVAB off the fly and I get a 98 out of 99. So I got nearly a perfect score when I actually wanted to take the ASVAB. And so I told my recruiter that I wanted to retake the score of the ASVAB because if I, spent a couple hours studying for it, I would have got a perfect score on it, like without a doubt. And so my recruiter gets my score back and I'm like, he told me what it was. I'm like, I want to retake. And my recruiter actually told me that he would not allow me to retake the ASVAB because the first time I took it, I scored so high that I qualified for every single job in the Marine Corps, even though I didn't try. Um, uh, I mean, I didn't not try. It was whatever. Like, I didn't care. Filled out random bubbles. Like at the end when I just was done with it. Like, and so I wanted to get a perfect score on it. But I mean, that's how intelligent I was. Like the percentage of the population that could get a perfect score on it is minuscule. And so that's where my intelligence was. And then I had a head injury that gave me a learning disability. Like it erased most of the memories of my childhood. Like I remember the narrative of my life, but I don't actually remember experiencing it, if that makes sense. Like I, I could I know my life in the same way you would know a fairy tale. Like that's when you read a fairy tale, that's how much connection I have to my life. But it's just a narrative. There's no like substance to it. Like there's no anything like that. So and then my memory was so bad at one point that I couldn't remember a one-digit number for more than a few seconds. So that's how that I went from nearly getting a perfect score. I could have easily gotten a perfect score on the ASVAB to uh, being reduced to that. And so I was a barely functional adult for a very long time because it just progressively got worse. And then, I found fashion and art, and it was something that I could do despite my learning disability that I got from serving this country. So I found the one thing in this world that I could be good at, amazing at, despite uh, my disabilities, where I could actually just be like world renowned good. Like that's where I see myself. That's where I will be. Like that's where I could have been if my school didn't try to stop me. Like if they would have helped me. Um and so I they took the only thing in this world that I could do because of my disability, and they took my ability to get education from me. I mean, they invalidated every single thing that's ever happened to me. Like they stripped away my benefits. The VA stripped away my due process. Wasn't even treated like a human by anyone. Animals were treated better than me. And the thing is, why? I want to create a nonprofit foundation based off and where I give all my money away based using my talent that I have, and I'm going to share it with the world. And that's what I want to do. I want to create a vocational rehab training where I pay people money to go to school while simultaneously paying for their school using my profits from fashion design. 100% of them. I am not going to collect a dime. And so I want to pay for medical insurance and dental, and that's the more successful I am with fashion, the more I want to be able to offer these people, and I want to create a, a fashion design that people see and they see hope, because when they see people who wear it, they see people who have, by them actually buying that fashion design, they've actually done something that's a selfless act. So not only do they get to enjoy uh, uh, my uh, international award-winning paintings on their body, they uh, at my expense, but they get to be a good person while doing it. And so, like, I'm trying to create a movement of people who, maybe we can, if we create a movement, we can come together and compromise. We can find a way to stop this violence and this hatred. And that is what my fashion design was for. That's what I wanted to do. And that is what Portland Fashion Institute is trying to destroy. And they know this is my dream. They know this is what I want to do with my life. And they can't stand it. And so they're trying to destroy me because of it. Like, after everything that I've sacrificed for this country, like, all of my hopes and dreams have been stolen from me. And then Portland Fashion Institute, all they want to do is steal more. Like, I mean, these people are horrible human beings, and they deserve whatever the law can do to them. To the fullest extent of the law, they deserve it. Like, because I've done nothing to these people. Like, I'm trying to make the world a better place, and they're trying to stop me from making the world a better place out of jealousy, out of petty jealousy, because I'm a more accomplished artist than them, because I'm a better designer than them. And it's not like I go around bragging, like, but if someone asks me, oh, that's so beautiful, where'd you get the fabric? I'm like, oh, well, it's actually uh, a painting of mine that I won an award in international painting competition with, and I took a digital image, and then I turned that into fabric, and that's how I designed uh, this fashion. And so, like, that's how, if I talk about my accomplishments, that's how I talk about them. I'm not going around bragging about how I'm better than anyone or anything like that. Like, I don't talk about them unless it's relevant to a conversation, or if it can add to a conversation. But I don't need to talk about it because everybody knows. So there's no point in talking about it. Like, everybody thinks it's cool. Okay, whatever. I think it's cool. They think it's cool. All right, we don't need to talk about it anymore. Like, and so, like, it's not like I'm going around bragging or anything like that. But like, they just can't stand what I've done, what I'm going to do, because what I'm going to do is going to be amazing, and it's going to be help everyone in this country, because you know what, we need to stop this pettiness and this hatred and this violence, because we're destroying this world. Like, America is the foundation of stability for this planet. And the more unstable America gets, the more unstable this world gets. So everybody needs to put their shit together and freaking stop being assholes, and either get the fuck out of my way, or I'm going to start moving people from now on. Like, I'm done dealing with people like this. Like, I've dealt with people like this my entire life. Like, she's violating the contract. Like, this is their mistake. So again, I sent one more request for a third time, and I said it's the school's responsibility to provide these documents to me directly and not to Voc Rehab, because when I first um, signed up for the school, Voc Rehab had nothing to do with the school. Voc Rehab came after I had already signed this contract with the school. Like, so Voc Rehab has no part in it. Voc Rehab has nothing to do with this contract. And so the contract says that they will provide it for me. And I'm not going to play their games through Voc Rehab, because, like, just like this with this knife thing, where they've never said a single thing to me, I'm not going to play this game where I'm chasing my documents because the school's going to screw with me. So the school, I requested documents from the school. I don't want them from Voc Rehab. I want them from them. And so I said, that is what the contract says, and unless you want to be in breach of contract, you will send me those papers now. Obviously, they're not, but that's okay. I didn't want them to. I just wanted them to screw themselves one more time.